All right. And five, who's going to read for us today?
Yes, I'm here, Elmo.
Yes, Lorena. Thank you.
Number 5. Can spirits who are scattered throughout space or on different worlds hear the evocations that are directed to them from all points of the universe? They are frequently informed by the familiar spirits who surround you and who go look for them. However, in such a case, there is a phenomenon that is difficult to explain to you, for you cannot yet comprehend the way thought is transmitted between spirits. Nevertheless, what I can say is that the evoked spirit, no matter how far away, receives an impulse of thought, so to speak, like a kind of electric shock, which calls its attention to the direction from which the thought has been addressed to it. We may say that it understands thought in the same way that you understand a voice. Is the universal fluid the vehicle for thought in the same way that air is the vehicle for sound? Yes, with the difference that sound can only be heard over a very short distance, whereas thought reaches the infinite. A spirit in space is like a traveler who, in the middle of a vast plain, suddenly hears his name and turns in the direction from where he has been called.
So to this answer, to this very interesting question is basically, can the spirits hear us when we call, when we evoke them, basically anywhere where they are? And from the answer, I can say that there is a possibility that no, but in this case, they will be informed by the familiar spirits that are with them. But more important is we do not understand well the science of thought. How does thought propagates? How does it move from point A to point B? How an incarnate thought can reach a discarnate? We know it can. You know, it can try vast distances. You know, we can reach those who are in communion with us. But the science, how does it work? It's still not well understood to us as we understand the propagation of sound traveling to air on its sonic waves, right? We don't understand thought very well yet. And the spirits leave that clear for to us over here. One of the things that we have already seen that will make a difference, and we just spoke about that a few minutes ago, is how are those spirits tuned with us? Do they really care to our call? Do we have any kind of connection that will make them pay attention to our evocation, to our calling? That'll be one important factor. Um, Another thing is, how do we all have that impression that somebody has been calling us? Haven't we all experienced at times that we are doing something, called the son say, did you call me? And say, no, I didn't call you. Did anybody call me? No, nobody called you. But you're pretty sure that you had that feeling of hearing somebody calling you. And I say feeling of somebody calling you is because not you can pretty much be sure there was not really a hearing, so to say, because otherwise people around you would hear as well. You're not crazy. They are not crazy. So certainly was not a, a calling from the physical world. Otherwise, those incarnated around us would hear us. So it's likely that we have received that perception that someone was calling us from somewhere. And that's why the spirit say, answers over here that nevertheless, what I can say is that the evoked spirit, no matter how far away, receives an impulse of thought, so to speak, like a kind of electric shock which calls its attention to the direction from which the thought has been addressed to it. So if we incarnate can receive that feeling of being called, that somebody is trying to catch our attention, and I'm going there and say that we all experience that because I have the experience and I have heard people asking me around, did you call me? No, I didn't call you. Did anybody call me? No, nobody called you. And since I'm a very average person, I say the average person, we will also have those feelings from moment to moment. Can you imagine a spirit who is free from the limitations of the flesh? It's free from this very dense body that limits us. So it can and will receive that impulse. But from the answer, it leads me to believe that the distance can be a factor. And when that is the case, it will require an intermediary to make that connection for us. But at the same time, Kardec is over here that there isn't much of a limit into that spirit can be evoked, can be called, especially if that spirit has some kind of association, is tuned somewhat with the person being evoked, if doing the evocation. Okay, common. Okay, questions, comments? Number 6.
Okay. 6. We know that distances mean nothing to spirits, but we marvel at seeing them sometimes respond so quickly to the call, almost as if they were already close by. Sometimes they really were. If the evocation was premeditated, the spirit has been forewarned and frequently is present before being called.
Yeah, since we communicate to the spirits via thought, by the time you use words, it's already too late. You already send that message already, right? Because we communicate via thought. And let's assume that, like in our center, we met for mediumship meetings on Mondays. We don't do evocation, but just as an example. And today I'm start thinking of someone that I would like to evoke. Today is what? It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. The spirits already received that call. If they are interested, they already be there. And by the time I call their name and say, hey, I'm here already. It's just a common sense, right? We communicate via thought. So by the time we speak, you already send the message already. Okay, 7 more questions.
Okay. 7. Does the ease with which the evoker is heard depend on the circumstances? Undoubtedly. A spirit who is called with a thought of sympathy and benevolence is more moved by it. It is as if it recognizes the voice of a friend. If not called in this manner, often the evocation cannot proceed. The thought emitted through the evocation touches the spirit, but if badly directed, becomes lost in a vacuum. This also happens among individuals. If the one addressed is not interested or is even anti-empathetic, he or she might hear, but most of the time will not answer.
Okay, so there's 2 things here. Does the ease in which the evoker is heard depend on the circumstances? Everything depends on circumstances, basically, right? when you're dealing with the spirituality, the purpose, the objective is a big one. Respect and affection always goes a long way to be an attractive power. And there's some ways that disrespect and disaffection will be a good things to repel the spirits. How different is it from us here, right? The quality of the ambient is extremely important. In an ambient where the level of energy is dense, is centered of materialism or material things. Everybody's over there say, can they tell me when I'm gonna get married? Can I get the numbers of the lotto? Can they help my team win this game this winter? So important. And then we evoke a higher spirit. You're wasting your time. You have created basically a barrier for a higher spirit to come to an ambient like that. So the circumstances, of course, is extremely important. And it is essential, you see, in the domains of mediumship when during the practice of physical phenomena to perform assistance for the needy, and they were not able to perform because the circumstances were not propitious. They were supposed to perform great work in the day, and they did about 10% of it out of tremendous charity. They put so much effort to achieve maybe 10% of what was planned for that day, because the circumstances were not propitious, because the energies were not propitious, because the incarnate in the place derailed, messed up all the preparation of the work that is done by the spiritual work. That's the reason the Spiritual Center, before the meetings, we try to do a reading of the gospel. We try to meditate, to concentrate, and to not mess up all the work that was done before we walk in there in preparation for the work. And that's why I always say is that we are responsible for the quality of the energy of that place. It was all prepared for us. They done their part. You can get there without thoughts and derail and destroy everything. So the circumstances is absolutely essential for the success of evocations. And what I regard over here, even if, let's say, get invoked, and we covered that already, it's just a recap, a suffering spirit, a more unevolved spirit. The same respect, the same affection is an attraction, because even the ones who are kicking the dogs out there want to be treated with respect. Even them will be openly receptive for some kind of affection, because it is our nature. And the same way that disrespect us because an inferior spirit or ignorant spirit, we disrespect that spirit, it's not going to show up. Who wants to be disrespected? Who will accept an invitation to be used as a punch bag? No one. So circumstance is absolutely important. Number 8.
Okay, number 8. Does an evoked spirit manifest voluntarily, or is it constrained to do so? It obeys the will of God, that is, the general laws governing the universe. Nonetheless, constrained is not the right word, since it deems whether or not it is convenient to answer. And in doing so, it exerts its own free will. A high order spirit will always answer if called for a useful purpose. It will only refuse to respond at meetings of non-serious persons or those who try to evoke it as a means of entertainment.
Yeah, that's another one that is very obvious. It says it obeys the will of God, that is, the general laws governing the universe. I love the Kardec make sure that by God it means the general laws that govern the universe. And one of those laws is free will, limited in accordance to our degree of involvement. We're going to see that ahead here. Higher spirits are busy. Higher spirits require an elevation of the energies in the ambient so he can kind of mix its energy with the environment. Otherwise, it's going to be able to participate. To the best of its will, if they're trying to waste their time with nonsense, with curiosity, with triviality, they're not going to participate. But keep in mind that there is no empty space. There are probably those who like the triviality, who likes the entertainment, they may fill that empty space and then may compromise our work. 9.
9. Can an evoked spirit refuse to answer? Of course. If not, how could it have free will? Do you think that all spirits in the universe are at your beck and call? Do you yourselves feel obligated to respond to everybody who calls out your name? However, when I say that it may refuse, I am referring to the evoker's request, because a low order spirit can be constrained by a higher order one to manifest.
Okay, so as I said before, free will is one of those laws that govern the universe. But I also said the free will is limited, and it's limited by our primarily moral progress, moral involvement. We can call everyone, Kardec told us here, you can call the highest of the spirits, you can call the lowest of the spirits, you can evoke anyone you want. But they're not obliged to come in, or they may not be able to come in. We also spoke that moral ascendancy is what dominates the hierarchy in the spiritual world. So a higher spirit, when it's understand that it is for the benefit of that spirit, it will, I don't have the better word, I would say the word force that spirit to accept that evocation. And again, I don't have a better word to put over here, but that spirit will be in a way forced to attend to that evocation if it is for that patient, for that spirit's best interest. We see that every week when the spirits come in our meeting and say, you guys are forcing me to be here. You took me from there and put me here against my will. We see that basically every week. It is because the moral ascendancy of higher spirits is absolutely irresistible to low order spirits. But again, it's when it's for their benefit. It's almost like the bitter medicine. It's like the needle in the arm that nobody enjoys but saves lives.
Okay. 10.
Yep, please.
Does the evoker have any means to force the spirit to answer in spite of itself? Not if the spirit is morally equal or superior. I say morally and not intellectually, because in that case you would have no authority over it at all. If it is morally inferior, however, you can make it appear for its own good, for then other spirits will help you.
Okay. So believe it or not, the fact that we are incarnate in associated the physical body, some of us may still have a moral ascendancy over this kind of spirit. So the one make the evocation, if it is morally more elevated, it may have that ability to do so. But again, morally only. not intellectually. Okay, and if they are equal or below, then that would not work.
Okay.
And of course, if it's a higher spirit incarnate, it will only force the issue when that medium or that evoker, I'm sorry, understands that it is for the benefit of the spirit being evoked.
Okay.
11.
11.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm waiting. Okay. 11. Would it be improper to evoke low order spirits? And could there be any danger that they might dominate the evoker? They only dominate those who allow them to. Evokers who are assisted by good spirits have nothing to be afraid of, since they dominate low order spirits, not the other way around. Whenever mediums are alone, they should avoid this type of evocation, especially if they are beginners.
So this is bread and butter ABCs of mediumship.
Mm.
There is a right place, a right time, a proper environment to deal with mediumship. It is advisable, in accordance with the doctrine of spiritism, to avoid the practice of mediumship by oneself, to always make sure that you're surrounded by perhaps even more experienced person. And of course, do not ask me over here, oh, but does Evolve do it by himself? Does Chico do it by themselves? Yes, they do. How many Evolves, how many Chico do we have around us? Once each one of us reach that level, then we can do whatever we want by ourselves. But being our level of ignorance, we should be careful. We should be use the instructions of Kardec to practice mediumship. Can the lower spirits dominate the Evoker? Well, it depends if the one that you evoke is better prepared than you are. We could. That's one of the reasons that we should not do it by himself. But it's only if we allow them to do so.
Okay. 12. Is there any special kind of inner state necessary for evocations? The best state is one of contemplation, when one wants to communicate with serious spirits. With faith and a desire for goodness, one is more able to evoke high order spirits. By lifting the soul in a few moments, contemplation at the time of evocation, one identifies with good spirits and make them more amenable to coming.
Okay, so here we have to make sure that we make a differentiation here from the evoker, from the medium. They may be the same individual, but they may not be. And with places over here, Kardec's place over here, the responsibility of those that evoke. I can just come to one of our meetings in the group and say, oh, I want to hear from my father, go and call him. Well, that medium has no association with my father, it may not, my father may not perceive its calling because it's not in tune with none of them. So it is upon me, the one I want to talk to my father. I am calling my father. Now I'm not a medium. I have to borrow the expertise, the attributes of some of my colleagues to help me to be able to interact with my father. It's not only say, okay, I want to talk to my father, you do the work, I have to sit over here and bring the results to me. I am a part of that process. I have to understand that. And that's the best way to do it, to place myself in that state of contemplation, of you want to or the meditation, concentration, but basically to be in a deep reflective thought of the one that I'm evoking. Naturally, as we just spoke, in a atmosphere of affection, of respect, then since my father and I have a relationship, we better have a relationship, right? My father may got that calling, may got that electrical thinking that we had just spoken about, may see, oh, somebody's calling me in that direction, and pay attention to that direction and see that he's being evoked and may not be able to attend, may not be able to use the meters that we have available. But I am a part of the process, even though I'm not the medium. Because again, the medium may not have any affinity at all with my father, that my father would pay attention to that calling. But if I do, that state of contemplation, I may catch his attention, and then he may be able to attend the call, or may not.
Okay. 13. Is faith necessary for evocations? Faith in God, yes. For everything else, faith will develop with the desire for goodness and the intention of being taught.
Someone who does not believe in anything, does not have faith in anything, first of all, I don't think would evoke. If we evoke only for the challenge to say, I know it's not true, I know it's not happening, I'm gonna show to them that it's a lie. You go and evoke something, and that's pretty may choose not come in. There will be no creation of an atmosphere that will allow the evocation to take place to begin with. So faith is also important, always important. Faith in God, even better. Faith in the process of the mediumistic phenomena. It's important. Faith in our potential, faith in our ability to transcend ourselves beyond the physical and make contact with our loved ones or whoever in the spiritual world. It's important as well.
Okay. 14. When men and women are united in thought and intent, are they more able to evoke spirits? Whenever all are united through charity and for good purposes, they achieve great things. Nothing is more harmful to evocations than differences of thought.
Okay. So that's what the power of church, right? Of houses of worships, when it's truly done with that intention. If I myself in my bedroom pray with all my powers, with all my strength, and each one of you do in your homes at the time that you go to bed, it's good. It has a tremendous effect. But if you unite all of us together in one ambient, all with the same line of thought, all emanating the same thought at the same time, it will be my power times the number of people out there. It's much more powerful. And that is the usage, the value of having a place of studies, having a place of worship that we can attend to. Doing things on Zoom, yes, it's wonderful. We don't have an option. If possible to do it together, it's much more productive for this reason, because there is strength in number when there is harmony of thought, of course. With the same common objective and with the same common desire, the same common line of thought, it becomes a much more propitious environment for learning, for practicing.
Mhm. Okay, 15.
Again, if
it
anyone has any questions, go ahead and ask, because everything is very straightforward.
Okay, 15. Is it a useful precaution to join hands for a few minutes at the start of meetings in order to form a current? A current is a physical method that produces no unity among you if there is no corresponding unity of thought. It is more effective to be united in a common thought with each participant appealing to the good spirits. You have no idea of what you could obtain during a serious meeting in which there is no trace of pride or self-importance, but only a perfect sentiment of mutual cordiality.
Okay, so on the 14th Codex, ask of the energy of thought, and the following 15, he wants to say, is there any value of the physical contact as well? Does it also enhances as the communion of thought makes our thoughts more powerful? It multiplies my energies times the number of people in there. Okay, we understand that. Does the physical contact, the holding of hands, that is very common in many ritualistic things. Does it make a difference? And the answer is no. What matters is the energy of thought, not the physical energy of holding hands. If everybody holds hands, everyone thinks something else, it makes no difference. If one holds hand and have the communion of thought, it makes as much difference as if they were not holding hands. Is it wrong to do it? No. Can it be done? Yes.
Mm.
But understanding that according to the doctrine of spiritism, what really matters is the energy of thought. But if in a special group they find it to be necessary, to be helpful, all right, there's nothing wrong in doing so. Right? And I don't know in times of COVID if it's a good idea to be holding hands, but you know, in general, there's nothing wrong with that. If I can recall experiences when I used to go to Catholic Church with Irene, and there's one part of the section in which after prayer you suggest that everyone share hands and hug the one next to you, the one behind you, the one in front of you. And somewhat I find that a good experience. I find that something nice to be done. You know, and at least it creates a cordiality amongst the participants in the studies. But with that, make the spirits happier, more likely to assist us? Probably not.
Okay.
Yeah, 16.
Okay. Is it preferable to make evocations at certain days and hours? Yes, if possible in the same place as well. Then spirits more willingly appear. Your constant wish is what helps spirits to come and communicate with you. They have their own concerns, which they cannot suddenly leave unexpectedly for your personal satisfaction. When I say in the same place, I am not implying an absolute condition because spirits can go anywhere. What I mean is that it is preferable to have a place dedicated to meetings because it leads to better contemplation.
That's another very obvious issue, right? Um, so the spirits of SCGNY now, the directors, the workers on the spiritual side, which are a lot bigger, many more than in the physical world, they're gonna be just waiting for us when we choose to meet somewhere sometime. So Joan gonna let us know, the day before. Or tomorrow we're gonna meet at Fifth Avenue on Central Park, but at the Central Park at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then next week, tomorrow we're gonna be by the West Side park at 6 p.m. It's not gonna work for them. They have the commitments, they have the things to do. They prepared the ambient before, and when it's over, the works continue. Or when it's over, when the physical work, the spiritual work continues. So you have to have a place, a time to practice mediumship. They are not at our disposition 24/7. We call and they have to be there for us. They have their own things to run. And when it says to have a place, it's a place. It's a room. It doesn't have to be a church. It doesn't have to be a synagogue. It doesn't have to be anything in special. It doesn't have to be anything with this or that status. No, it has to be one place where they can do the work, where they can bring their devices, where they can do the things that they need to do. On a regular basis, they will dedicate that time and that day to be there with us. But if you want to be changed here and there, it's not going to work for them. So that's discipline is important. They are busy as well. We say they start at 7, we start at 7, we finish at 9, we finish at 9. And needs things has to be organized for them to be a part of the work.
Okay. 17. Do certain objects like medallions and talismans have any property for attracting or repelling spirits as some people claim? That is a pointless question, since you know that matter exerts no influence over spirits. You can be sure that no good spirits ever offered such absurd advice. The virtue of talismans of any nature only exists in the mind of superstitious individuals.
Okay, there's another issue that Kardec covers the Spirit's book, asking the spirits the same question and receive, of course, the same answers. It's important that we separate our dogmas and rituals from true spirituality. Spirits are not attached to physical things, or should not be attached to physical things. All those talismans, all those specific rituals and dances and this and that are not for us to attract the spirits. I open a parenthesis here, um, and I bring the fact that once we leave this physical world, we're not going to transform ourselves into something else. So if I live my whole life over here believing that, let's say, a crystal is what should be used in order to call spirits, and when you want to worship spirits and this and that, you have to use crystals. It's perhaps going to take a while for me to free myself from this mystification, to learn better, to understand better. And perhaps the crystal will facilitate because of the expect. If there is crystal, they are calling me. It's possible, right? But it's not because the crystal is needed. It's because in my ignorance, in my understanding from this previous reincarnation, I have created that myth, or they create that myth and I bought on it, and I have to free myself from it. But no, spirits are not in any way attracted by anything else other than their thought.
Okay, 18.
Mhm.
18. What do you think about spirits who set appointments in gloomy places at inconvenient times? There are spirits who have fun with those who listen to them. It is always useless and frequently dangerous to give in to such suggestions. Useless because absolutely nothing can be gained beyond being deceived. Dangerous, not because of what the evil spirits might do, but because of the influence they might exert over weak minds.
I think this is also important, especially the dangerous part.
Mm.
Um, as we spoke on the question 16, there is no specific place to receive spirits. You don't need to go to a cemetery. You don't have to go. You don't need to go to a synagogue, to a church, to anything to be able to attract the spirits. Again, thought it's what matter. And if a spirit says, "Oh, I will evoke a spirit and receive a message," or I will be with you if you go to that place, that time, at that time. That's a big red flag right there, right? You say, well, what does the spirit is trying to bring me to somewhere else? It's if it's not trying to have fun, it's going to lead me somewhere to some place for its own purpose, for its own reason. It may have things over there that spirit wants to from us to do to them, right? For them. And it could not be a more evolved spirit, right? Which more evolved spirit would be interested in materiality, material things? So the danger is not because they are evil spirit, they're going to do that, but because they may be able to influence us. If I have a habit of consuming excess alcohol and I stop to and decide that I want to stop it, and I have one or two or three spirits who now join my company every time that I'm consuming alcohol. Once I start to do that, they will try to lead me to places where I would more likely engage in excess of consuming alcohol again. And more about the spirit, you will not try to take us to any place because they are not interested in anything of the physical world. So there's a very big flag and you have to be careful. So I think it's a very important advice. Dangerous not because of what the evil spirits might do, but because of the influence they might exert over weak minds. If I am a weak mind and very impressible by things, they may create some kind of phenomena and impress me and start to lead me towards not good. 19.
And 19. Are certain days and hours more propitious for evocations? It does not matter at all to spirits, like everything else material, and it would be superstitious to believe in the influence of certain days and hours. The most propitious times are when evokers are less involved in habitual occupations and when their body and spirit are calmer.
It is also very important, running away from rituals and dogmas. You have to evoke at midnight or whatever. You have to be in a specific place, in a cemetery, or you have to be on your knees. So, and anything of that matter. No, no. But it's important that spirit tells us here. It's when the evokers or it is when the mediums are more able to dedicate their time, their attention to things of spiritual matters. It's going to be very hard that now to try to do that during the working hours, to try to do that when you're driving, to try to do that when you're in a subway. So it has to be when we can dedicate ourselves. We can put our mind, all attention at one thing with this work of mediumship, and not being an evoker, being the medium, being the ones provide the vibration, or the whole everyone in that group of incarnate can really, as the spirit put over here, um, be less involved in habitual occupations, and when the body and spirit are calmer, is when we can really dedicate ourselves to the work. In general, it's evening, it's night time, because most people working during the day take the have the time at night to do those activities, but not because night is better. No. If a group of spirituals choose to do their work in the afternoon, that's fine as well.
Okay. 20. Is being evoked pleasant or unpleasant for spirits? Do they willingly answer when we call them? That depends on their character and the reason why you call them. Whenever the objective is praiseworthy and the means are sympathetic, evocation is pleasant and even attractive. Spirits always feel happy with displays of affection. Some consider it a great fortune to be able to communicate with humans, and they suffer when they are forgotten by them. However, this also depends on their character. As I have already stated, among spirits there are misanthropes who do not like being inconvenienced and whose responses mirror their bad mood, especially when called by individuals whom they do not care about. A particular spirit often has no reason at all to answer the appeal of someone it does not know or toward whom it is indifferent, and who is usually motivated by curiosity. In such a case, if it answers at all, it is usually in quick appearances, provided there is actually a serious and instructive objective in the evocation. We have seen persons who only evoke their relatives in order to ask questions about the most ordinary matters of material life. For example, one wanted to know if he should rent or sell his house. Others have wanted to find out what kind of profit they would make on their merchandise, the place where some money was hidden, or if such and such a business would be profitable or not. Our relatives beyond the grave are only interested in us due to the affection we still have for them. If all our thoughts are limited to treating them like fortune tellers, or if we only want information from them, they cannot show much sympathy for us, and we should not wonder why they display little kindness toward us.
Okay, so we always go back to the big word, intention, right? That's such a big word in spiritism. Like you always come back to that. Is being evoked pleasant or pleasant for spirits? Well, it's not for the nature, the eternal nature characteristic of the spirit. Just like incarnate, some people are more sociable. They want to know social butterflies. They want to be in this group here, this group there, participate in everything, and want to, have input, put their opinions in everything. Yeah, those would like to be evoked because they are those social butterflies, incarnate as well as discarnate. And there are those who are extremely reserved, not interested in gatherings, more for him or herself, that don't care much to be evoked. But regardless, everyone likes to be appreciated. Uh, Everyone, we have that little bit of pride, that people care for us, that people care for our opinions, people care for what we have to offer. That's a good feeling that most of us would have. So spirit will find it pleasant if the purpose is in accordance with the interest of that spirit, and that can go for the good and for the bad as well, right? Um, if my interest is where can I find cocaine so I can get higher cocaine, but there might be spirits out there that, if evoked for that purpose, will be ready to act because they may enjoy the cocaine themselves, while others will be evoked to understand a little bit more of the interaction of perispirit to perispirit and in a state of mediumship. There may be spirits over there who would be willing to participate in the stories with us and help us to understand that process better. So intention, purpose is essential. And with that, I already covered over here. Respect, affection, are always attractive. And the opposite to respect and disaffection are also always repulsive. Triviality, Kardec's point of view, I can only imagine in the very beginning of the doctrine when Kardec was still writing those books and putting those things out there, how much triviality, how much little valued requests the spirits have to deal with. Understandable, what time there we are all learning. If it's still today having all this literature in front of us, people still things that are spirits are there just to tell us trivialities. At that time, it would be much more common. So he brings all those examples of individuals evoking spirits, relatives, loved ones for these most trivial things that pertains only to this physicality that will be gone when this physical body dies. What about the spirits that are not interested? Do not participate? Even of the ones they go back to the spiritual world, get it, know the value of our spirituality, the value of trying to transcend a little bit of the physical, of the material, and if for our own good, they're not going to be calling now. They will not be answering our calls for trivialities like that. No, can I get a profit from this merchandise? Where did you hide that money? Where did you hide that beautiful gold coins that nobody can find it? May not be interested on that. They will not answer. But if you call them for things of spiritual value, once they understand the value of those things, I'm sure that if possible, they will attend, they will respond to all calls. So one more, the last one.
20?
21.
21, okay.
Yeah.
Is there any difference between good and evil spirits with respect to the willingness with which they answer our call? There is a big difference. Evil spirits only answer willingly when they hope to dominate and deceive. They are very unwilling when they are forced to manifest in order to confess their wrongs, and they try to get away like a school child who is called up to be reprimanded. Nonetheless, they can be forced to manifest by higher order spirits as a punishment and as a lesson for incarnates. Evocation is unpleasant for good spirits when it is for no purpose or for trivialities. They either do not answer at all or soon withdraw. Whoever they may be, spirits generally do not like to serve as a distraction for the curious any more than you do. You often have no other purpose for evoking a spirit than to see what it might have to say to you, or to question it about some particularity of its life, which it has no interest in revealing to you because it has no reason to confide in you. Do you think that it likes to be cross-examined at your pleasure? Don't fool yourselves. What it wouldn't do while alive, it will more likely decline to do as a spirit. Experience, in fact, has shown that evocation is always pleasing to spirits when done for a serious and worthwhile purpose. The good ones take pleasure in teaching us, and the suffering ones are consoled by our sympathy, while those we have known are pleased when we remember them. Frivolous spirits like to be evoked by frivolous persons because it gives them an opportunity to have fun at their expense, but they feel ill at ease in the company of serious individuals.
Thank you. So like reading something also very straightforward, something that's already covered over here. And again, you go back to for the purpose, for the intention. And two very great differentiations between good and evil spirits in respect to the willingness to which they answer a call is higher spirits cannot be forced. It's just spoke about that. Low order spirits can be forced by the higher authority, hierarchy of the ones with moral ascendance. That predominates and it becomes irresistible to a low order spirit. It will attend to that call if the higher spirits decides that is for his or her own good spirit. And we see that every week. That they are there, they are having a conversation and very upset for that. But they cannot resist the call they have to attend. Again, we don't do evocations, just an example over here, okay? And outside of the being forced and not forced, then comes the moral characteristic of the spirit and the moral characteristic of those perform the evocations. Okay, if I wanted to rob a bank and I can evoke spirits who used to rob bank, and if they are still in that mode, they'll be willing to manifest themselves and guide me to rob a bank. Higher spirits, on the other hand, they won't participate. If it is for valuable things of moral teachings. They're not even interested in teach us mathematics or biology. For that, we have books over here. And if it's not revealed in our books over here, they're not going to reveal it for us because it's our job to do so. But for moral things, the moral of the spirits will be very willing to manifest and to participate. Outside of that, it's unlikely that they will accept for some states of consolation, perhaps in times of tremendous calamities, they will provide some consolation with those. And in association with that, there'll be some teachings there as well. But more evolved spirits, basically, they want to help us to evolve morally. That's the only reason that they use mediumship. And when you go to lower spirits, it depends on their interest and if they are allowed to do so. Again, if they are allowed to do so, they may attend and they may teach me how to rob a bank if they are allowed to do so. But if they are allowed to do so, it's because there is a less important lesson, not only for myself, but for that spirit as well. And it's likely to be a rather painful lesson. But if that's the way I choose to progress, they are not going to stop me. Okay, time is up. Any questions, comments?
Just a general question, maybe off topic, but in the situation of hospice, at the time of a person nearly transitioning, it is often said that their loved ones can be seen or felt by the person ready to transition. Is the person who is ready to go evoking their loved ones? Or is this happening from the spirit side, from the spirit world, bringing the loved ones to the person ready to transition? Thank you.
Could be all three possibilities, right? It could be that the more inbound one, the one right to discarnate, have that understanding. And it's amazing how once we get to that stage, we start to believe in things that we haven't not believed our entire life, right? It may be from the spiritual world side, from the loved ones who are aware, who see what is about to happen, and they take their time to be there with them. It could be common between the two of them. Okay, but yeah, it's quite common that it happens. And we all have loved ones, right? Regardless of what kind of life we live, what kind of things we do, there are those who love us regardless. And they will be around at that moment of discarnation to assist us out of their love, even if we don't evoke. But I do understand that a lot of evocation happens at that time. And again, amazing enough, for people who did not believe in anything until we got that crucial moment of their lives.
Thank you so much, Elmo.
Sure. So we close with our prayer as we elevate our hearts and minds to God, giving thanks for this opportunity and for all the opportunities. Asking our spiritual benefactors and benefactor may guide, inspire us throughout the week to be vigilant with our sentiments and with our thoughts, to be able to expand the teachings of Spiritism, the teachings of Christ, with our actions, with our behaviors for the week. Asking to be able to be back here next week in good health, ready and willing to learn, ready and willing to put in practice all that we learn. We'd like to extend our prayers in communion of thought to vibrate for all of our brothers and sisters who are undergoing difficult trials at this moment. Of the big wars that catch the media's attentions, as well as the small wars. Everywhere that there is suffering, the Christ may be able to pacify the angry, rebellious minds. That the love of Christ may console, may protect, may guard those who are suffering from violence and terror. And may we pacify ourselves to contribute with Christ in the upgrading of our planet. And we ask permission to close this meeting. So be it.